This episode is brought to you by Amazon. The holidays are here, and you know what that means? It's time to get your friends and family the gifts they deserve. Take the stress out of shopping with Amazon's great deals and low prices on a huge range of items from toys to tech and much more. Whoever you're gifting for, Amazon has great prices on everything you need this holiday season. Shop Amazon for all your gifting needs.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 2.
Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. Glad to have you with me. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I am happy to have you. As always, text ARMY to 33777, and you can put your contact info in, name, zip code, email address. So as we start going around the country, we'll be able to send you an email and let you know. We are planning our event in Tulsa, Oklahoma for November 7th. Details will be forthcoming in a week or so for those of you out at listening on KRMG who want to come out. Now, or those of you over in Oklahoma City, by the way, who want to drive over to Tulsa, you're more than welcome to come as well. We will make it happen. I want to talk about the SAVE Act. My buddy Chip Roy, a good friend of mine, a great member of Congress, he has authored the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act stands for Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act. And Chip Roy and Republicans in the House of Representatives want to tie the SAVE Act to the continuing resolution that must be passed this month to avoid a government shutdown. And the talking point from Democrats is that, well, it's already illegal for illegal aliens and non-citizens to vote in American elections. What the SAVE Act does is it requires states to take affirmative action to make sure non-citizens are not registering to vote. Some states already have that rule. So I live in Georgia, and there's a video that's been circulating of an apartment complex in Norcross, Georgia, where people were going in and getting illegal aliens, not just legal aliens, but illegal aliens to register to vote. It doesn't matter in Georgia, and it freaked people out. I've had to tell them Georgia is a state that requires affirmative confirmation of citizenship before someone can vote. When Brian Kemp, the current governor, was Secretary of State, Georgia passed a law saying that the Secretary of State has to confirm citizenship. The Obama administration refused to cooperate. So Brian Kemp, the then Secretary of State, sued in federal court and got a consent decree whereby the federal government now has to give Georgia access to its database of citizenship. So, for example, in 2022, 1,634 non-citizens in Georgia filled out voter registration forms, and they were rejected because they were not citizens. So because it's an automatic process in Georgia, here's what happens. When you fill out your voter registration form, the Secretary of State's office processes it, and it's run by a Department of Homeland Security database. If it comes back with citizenship, you're registered to vote. If it comes back as non-citizen, your voter registration is rejected. If it comes back as inconclusive, you're notified and you got to provide proof of citizenship to be able to vote. But not every state does that. Illegal immigration is becoming a huge problem, crime and otherwise. In fact, Chip was on with Harris Faulkner on Fox News this morning. I want to play you this conversation. It's not directly about the SAVE Act, but it is implicit in what's going on here. This is Congressman Chip Roy talking to Harris Faulkner on Fox just a little while ago.
You know, look, this is one of those things people say we're trying to exploit for political reasons. The fact is we have a choice to make as a country. Are we going to live in a safe country, or are we going to allow our country to become basically a third world dangerous place? And so what we're seeing right now, just 30 miles from right here, I'm in the Capitol building, out in Manassas, you have an individual who pulled a teenage girl into a car posing as a law enforcement officer, and then he abducted her, right? This is happening in real time across this country. This man was from Peru. He was released in December by this administration into the United States purposefully. This isn't about just open borders. That's almost a misnomer now. This administration is purposely flying people into the United States or taking people from the border and releasing them into the United States, knowing full well that they are dangerous individuals. I was in Aurora, Colorado on Thursday and Friday. I met with the woman who put the video cameras on her door. They weren't apartment videos. This was a woman who needed to secure her own home in the apartment. And she put videos up. And she went out and she called the police. They testified on the ground that they didn't have any manager in the apartment complex. You got radical Democrats, including the governor of Colorado and my colleague Jason Crow, who want to deny that they in fact took over the apartment complex. You had 4 individuals who were arrested. They were released into Texas, into the United States. You had a Peruvian who was released, caught in Buffalo in July, is accused of 23 murders in Peru, is now finally in ICE custody. Tomorrow in the Judiciary Committee, we're going to have Jocelyn Nungare's mom testifying. We're going to have the mom of Kayla Hamilton, who is another woman who was killed in the same county as Rachel Marin. I think we're going to have Rachel Marin's mom. We're going to try to highlight to the American people that they are in danger. And
Now, this is how this is relevant to the SAVE Act. The Democrats say this is all overblown and it's not happening. The governor of Colorado, for example, said that these illegal immigrants from Venezuela had not taken over that apartment complex. The local mayor says, oh, yes, they have. Member of city council says, yes, they have. The people who live in the apartment complex say, yes, they have. But the governor comes out and says, no, that's not true. And so the media says, well, the governor says it's not true. How can we believe these other people? They might be Trump supporters. You're not allowed to believe your eyes. It's the same damn thing they did with Joe Biden, where everybody could look at Joe Biden and say there's clearly something wrong here. And the media would say, there's nothing wrong with Joe Biden, you Trump-supporting bigot. Look, he's perfectly fine. He just wandered off stage the way he was supposed to. They're doing the same thing with the election now, as Republicans amp up efforts to tie the SAVE Act to it. I want to read for you the headline at the Associated Press. Non-citizen voting isn't an issue in federal elections, regardless of conspiracy theories. Here's why. And then it includes this paragraph debunking the entire thing, saying that non-citizen voting isn't a problem. It does not happen. Nobody should worry about this. They include this, quote, to be clear, there have been cases of non-citizens casting ballots, but they are extremely rare. Those who have looked into these cases say they often involve legal immigrants who mistakenly believe they have the right to vote. So in other words, it is happening. It is actually happening. Here's what the data says, according to U.S. News & World Report. In 2016, North Carolina audited its election and found 41 legal immigrants had cast ballots despite not yet being citizens. Now, there were 4.8 million votes cast. Those 41 legal immigrants who cast votes did not affect the election, but their votes got counted. A recent study in Arizona found that less than 1% of non-citizens in the state attempted to register, and that even in those instances, the vast majority were believed to be mistakes. The Brennan Center for Justice, a nonpartisan law and policy institute based in the nation's capital, surveyed 44 election officials located in some of the most populated and immigrant-heavy areas after 2016 and found 30 incidents out of 23.5 million votes cast. So what you're saying is that it happens. Those 30 should not have happened. The media looks at this and says those 30 were insignificant, therefore this isn't a problem. I look at it and say 30 people who should not have cast votes in this country cast votes. And this is the way the media spins it. Here's National Public Radio. The GOP is making false claims about non-citizen voting. It's affecting real voters. William Pritchett is an Alabama voter who got thrown off the rolls. He was one of 3,200 people thrown off the rolls. Alabama said he wasn't a citizen. Yes, he is a citizen. Yes, he should have voted. It's nonsense. And he is used as the epitome of we can't clean up the voter rolls. We can't clean up the voter rolls because we might disqualify actual citizens. And yet, even in the NPR story where they're trying to say that this is a big deal, points out that, in fact, non-citizens are voting in the election. From the Heritage Foundation, in Virginia, more than 11,000 aliens were initially listed on the state's voter rolls within the past decade. In New Jersey, at least 616 known aliens ended up in the state's voter registration system just a few years ago. Since 2021, nearly 200 aliens were initially on voter rolls in Arizona. And now what's happening? During the Biden administration, illegal aliens have flooded our border. And in a number of states in local elections, they now allow non-citizen voting. A growing number of progressive enclaves in this country are allowing non-citizens to vote in local elections, which frankly should be prohibited. But under our system of laws and our federal system, the federal government cannot prohibit that. Only the states can prohibit non-citizens voting in state elections. So here's what the SAFE Act does. The SAFE Act reiterates current federal law. Current federal law says it is illegal to vote in an election if you're not a citizen. But what the voter registration forms just tell you is that, hey, you can't do this if you're not a citizen. But there's no active enforcement mechanism to clean up the voting rolls. So this is the synopsis of the SAVE Act that Congressman Roy has authored that is before the House of Representatives that they're thinking of tying to the budget fight. The bill requires individuals to provide documentary proof of U.S. citizenship in order to register to vote in federal elections. Specifically, the bill prohibits states from accepting and processing an application to register to vote in a federal election unless the application presents documentary proof of U.S. citizenship. Right now, in many states, the only thing you have to do is sign the statement affirming you're a citizen. It doesn't matter if you are or you aren't. You sign it and say, yes, I am. You don't have to have proof. You just sign the statement. You can lie through your teeth. Further, the SAVE Act prohibits states from registering an individual to vote in a federal election unless, at the time the individual applies to register to vote, the individual provides documentary proof of U.S. citizenship and requires states establish an alternative process under which an applicant may submit other evidence to demonstrate U.S. citizenship. Each state, this is the big one, must take affirmative steps on an ongoing basis to establish that only U.S. citizens are registered to vote, which shall include establishing a program to identify individuals who are not U.S. citizens using information supplied by specified sources. That's what Georgia did on its own, and a couple of other states have done, where Georgia now is allowed to contact the Department of Homeland Security database and ping Social Security numbers for citizenship. The bill also allows for a private right of action against an election official who registers an applicant to vote in a federal election who fails to present documentary proof of U.S. citizenship. Therefore, an individual would be able to sue a board of elections for allowing non-citizens to register to vote. The bill also establishes criminal penalties for certain offenses, including registering an applicant to vote in a federal election who fails to present documentary proof of U.S. citizenship. This should be a no-brainer. And what the Democrats have decided to do with the help of the media say this isn't a problem. This isn't a problem, except in every single story from the Associated Press to National Public Radio that says this isn't a problem in federal elections, every single story admits non-citizens are voting in federal elections. It may only be a few, but then we've only gotten to a point right now in this country where Democrats are trying to register illegal aliens to vote in local elections. And some of them are going to fall through the cracks and get registered into the larger election. Mistakes happen. A government that could not stop a former president from being shot in Pennsylvania is not a government capable of blocking a wave of illegal immigrants from voting in our elections. The SAVE Act locks down the system in a way the current legislation does not. The SAVE Act is worth Republicans shutting down the government over. Put Democrats on record saying they're okay with non-citizens voting in our elections. They can't say it doesn't happen because even National Public Radio, in a report trying to say it doesn't happen, had to admit that, yes, it has happened. And because it has happened, it should be stopped. Chip Roy's legislation would stop it. If the Speaker of the House says he's going to fight for it, Republicans in the House and the Senate should be willing to risk a government shutdown on this issue to highlight the fact that, yes, in fact, non-citizens have been voting in federal elections, and that should be stopped. AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry. Everybody's talking about it. Billions of dollars invested, so buckle up. The problem is AI needs a lot of speed and processing power. So how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud. Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing, and of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less, like Uber, 8x8, Databricks, Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/Erickson, ERICKSON. That's oracle.com/Erickson, oracle.com/Erickson. Go check them out today. Greetings, conversationalists. It's Eric Erickson here. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be very happy to have you. As always, I got to tell you about this tweet from Tom Elliott. I use a service to clip audio called Grabian, and it is run by a genius named Tom Elliott, who has a genius tweet. I got to give him credit for it because he's got the receipts. How the media has been denying that there's a Venezuelan gang problem in U.S. cities, and the media has been claiming Russia's trying to help Trump in 2024. So here's the story from the Colorado Sun. The headline is Racism Fueling Claims About a Venezuelan Gang Takeover of Apartment Buildings in Aurora. Well, here's the actual statement from the National Security Council spokesperson on the Venezuelan gang, that the Biden administration is taking new actions to halt the spread of the gang, a transnational criminal organization from Venezuela involved in violent criminal acts that are moving into American cities. So, yeah, it turns out it wasn't racism. It was the Biden administration. Here's USA Today headline, Russia ramping up election meddling efforts to help Trump beat Harris, according to intelligence officials. Here's the actual report from the U.S. government, just declassified. Quote, to date, there has been no observed foreign actor seeking to interfere in the conduct of the 2024 elections. Foreign actors are increasing their election influence activities as we approach November. In particular, Russia, Iran, and China are trying by some measure to exacerbate divisions in U.S. society. But no foreign actors have been detected directly interfering in the election, contrary to media reports. Thanks to Tom Elliott for capturing all of that. Now, if you want to capture the dirt and dust floating in your air, the Eden Pure Thunderstorm can do it. I was at my beloved Barnsley Resort this weekend, and my hotel room had an Eden Pure Thunderstorm. It wasn't working because the fireplace hadn't been used, but had it, it would have wiped out the smoke odors in the room. I've used it that way before, and it's nice to see a hotel has such great equipment. You can get the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. You get 3 of them. You can save $200. You go to EdenPureDeals.com, EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK3. So you get 3 of them upstairs, downstairs, your basement, your travel bag, your RV, wherever you need them. And they wipe out odors. They don't just get rid of the dust and the pollen. They generate ozone, which goes into the cracks and crevices and into the furniture upholstery and wipes out the odor-causing ions, wipes them out, neutralizes them, and gets rid of those odors. It really does work. Smoke odors, dirty diaper odors, litter box odors, wet dog odors, cooking odors, you name it. Go to EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERICK3, ERICK3, at EdenPureDeals.com. Greetings. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, you can also text ERICK, ERICK, to 33777 and get the show notes, the live stream, the podcast, everything you need. So this morning on Twitter, I saw a live streamer doing a story about Haitians eating people's pets in Springfield, Ohio. And right now I see there's a live stream going on Twitter. Migrants over in Ohio town caught eating family pets. I've seen now J.D. Vance tweet about the Haitian illegal immigrants coming for people's pets in Springfield, Ohio, which happens to be one of my listener areas. I am broadcasting live right now on WHIO out of Dayton, Ohio. It covers Springfield. I got a lot of listeners in Springfield. They listen online and they listen on the radio. I can see how many people are listening right now on my live stream who are tied to IP addresses in Springfield, Ohio. Maybe they're waiting for me to talk about this subject. Here's what I need you to know. There is no evidence that illegal aliens are eating people's pets in Springfield, Ohio. I've tried to find it. What I have found is this. A Canton, Ohio woman has been arrested on animal cruelty charges after torturing, killing, and eating a cat. 27-year-old Alexis Farrell of Canton on Friday, August 16th, tortured, killed, and ate a cat in a residential area in front of multiple people, and I'm going to try not to throw up at this moment. Oh, dear God. Ugh. Conservative right-wing activists online who have social media followings are conflating this story with the other story. The other story is happening, just to my knowledge, they're not eating people's house pets. And this is my chief frustration with so much of influencer media and the like is how many people grasp for details to make an already bad story more salacious, and then other people use those added details to debunk the whole thing. So let me rewind this a little bit. Talking about the SAVE Act. The media tells you the SAVE Act is unnecessary because it's already against the law to vote in federal elections if you're not a citizen, even though there's no enforcement mechanism to prohibit voter registration. But the SAVE Act, which would prohibit people from even registering to vote if they're not U.S. citizens, they say is unnecessary because illegal aliens do not vote in this country. But also in the same stories tell us that actually it happens. It's just a small number. It's 16 here, it's 45 there, it's 2,000 people on a voter registration list who didn't actually go vote, but they're registered to vote, and they're illegal aliens, or I should say they're non-citizens. Some of them are legal aliens, but they're not allowed to vote. So the media tells us this is unnecessary, doesn't happen, but also, hey, by the way, it does happen. And you need to understand that this is the thing that they're doing. This is the thing. You got to pay attention to this. They say this law, the SAVE Act, is unnecessary because it does not happen. By the way, it happens, just not in big numbers. Never mind that we've just seen this massive wave of illegal immigrants come across the country in the last few years. And never mind that we're starting to see Democrats escalate their desire to have illegal aliens and legal aliens register to vote in this country for municipal elections. As I said just a short time ago, a federal government that could not stop a man from trying to kill Donald Trump is a federal government that is not going to stop illegal aliens from voting in an election. The way to stop it is at the state level by forcing the registration process to confirm citizenship before registering. That's what Georgia does. And in Georgia, over 1,000 people attempted to register to vote in the 2022 election between Brian Kemp and Stacey Abrams, who were illegal aliens. No, I'm sorry, it was 2,100 people. And the Secretary of State's office was able to catch them and block them. Why? Because we have a version of the SAVE Act in Georgia already where our Secretary of State affirmatively must check the citizenship status of every single person who tries to vote. And it's a very easy digital process where the Social Security number of the person is put in, it is zapped to Department of Homeland Security, immediately cross-referenced and either accepted or rejected. It's a very quick, unburdensome process. What the media tells us is that it doesn't happen, it's not real, and then, by the way, it's happening. And that's what they're doing with Springfield, Ohio. By the way, Springfield, Ohio is very near Yellow Springs, Ohio, which is where Utters and Putters is, and I want to go there so bad. Utters and Putters is a dairy just south of Springfield, Ohio, where they also have mini putt-putt and a driving range and batting cages, and you can get ice cream and desserts. And I want to go to Utters and Putters and hit golf balls. At some point, we're going to make it happen. Road show. Those of you in Ohio will show up in Dayton and we'll drive out to Yellow Springs to Utters and Putters. Be fantastic. Nonetheless, I digress. So the media, just like the media is telling us that illegal aliens don't vote in this country, except they do, they're telling us that this isn't true. There's no evidence that Haitian migrants are stealing farm animals. And what they've done is they're conflating it with the edgelords of the right who are saying these Haitians are killing people's house cats. They've conflated it with the story from Canton, Ohio. There's no proof the Haitians are eating people's house pets. There is, however, a lot of proof they're eating the ducks in the park. A Springfield, Ohio resident has claimed that Haitian migrants have been decapitating ducks in public parks and eating them. The aggrieved man made the claim during a city commission meeting last month to address the influx of legal Haitian immigrants, which has revitalized the local economy but sparked controversy. I really challenge you guys to get out here and do something, he told the meeting. This man, however, you should know, he's not white, so he can't be racist, according to them. According to the left, he can't be racist. These Haitians are running into trash cans, running into buildings. They're flipping cars in the middle of the street. They're in the park, grabbing up ducks by their neck, cutting their heads off and walking off with them. They're eating them. Springfield, Ohio, this is from the Daily Mail, has become a flashpoint over immigration. Willing to do blue-collar jobs, locals were unenthusiastic about this. Daily Mail writing this. The Haitians, who are in the country legally, moved to town. Within a few years, 20,000 immigrants arrived, swelling Springfield's population, which was only 58,000. The Haitians had Social Security numbers and job permits, paid taxes, and lived in houses that were empty and boarded up as the town shrank. However, their arrival put a strain on medical services and the education system. I think it's sad some people are using this as an opportunity to spread hate or spread fear, Deputy Director of Public Safety and Operations Jason Villa told NPR. We get these reports that the Haitians are killing ducks in our parks, or the Haitians are eating vegetables right out of the aisle in the grocery store. We haven't really seen any of that. It's really frustrating. As a community, it's not helpful as we try to move forward. Here's the problem, though. Whether it's with illegal aliens voting, or whether it's with Joe Biden, or whether it's with Kamala Harris, the mainstream media so often now tells us this isn't true, this isn't true, this isn't true, this isn't true, and then suddenly it is. A woman in Springfield, Ohio, went to the city council and complained she was driven from her home by illegal aliens from Haiti in Springfield, Ohio. She can't live in her house. It's unsafe in her neighborhood. She tried to help, and she was harassed. Men who cannot speak English are in my front yard screaming at me, throwing mattresses and throwing trash in my front yard. And she and her elderly husband had to leave their home of 45 years in Springfield, Ohio. And the media wants to deny this stuff is happening. Here are the people saying this is happening to them. Here are the people who are speaking up, saying this is real. And yet the media tells us it's not. Look, it's true. They're not eating your pets. And the people telling you that appear to be lying based on everything I can find. They're simply making a bad story more salacious to capture your attention. But the reality is, yes, there are Haitians in the parks cutting off the heads of geese and ducks and eating them. Yeah, it's true. In fact, a picture came out today of some Haitian dude walking down a street with a headless goose. By the way, it was a Canadian goose, which is protected migratory bird, so the guy broke the law. I say this as I play at a golf course where someone got in trouble for killing a Canadian goose that tried to attack him while he was trying to putt. There's clearly a problem. And part of the problem is, in order to help the Democrats, members of the media are just denying these stories are true. And when you're denying a story is true, you lose your credibility. In the same way, you make a story more salacious than it is, you should lose your credibility as well. What I want you to pay attention to, and what you should be frustrated about, though, is that there are people on the right who are adding untrue things to the stories, and that's providing the ammunition for which the media can say, this isn't true. They're not killing people's house pets. I guess the whole story's not true. And that's the problem here, too. We got a real problem on our hands. It's a real story. There are plenty of documentary evidence. There are plenty of eyewitnesses that this is happening in Springfield, Ohio. And the media just says, no, it's not true. The Democrats in charge say it's not true. Therefore, it must not be true. Just like the Venezuelan gang taking over the apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado. I keep wanting to say Illinois for both of these. It's throwing me off. Grown-ups at some point need to decide that they're going to go with the truth and deal with the truth. And the truth of the matter is that there's a problem with the Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio. There's a problem with the Venezuelan gangs in Aurora, Colorado. And there is a problem with non-citizens voting in this country. And it may be small, but it exists. And we should solve those problems. If you can't solve the problem of an gang of illegal aliens taking over an apartment complex and making people fear for their lives, what good is the government? The government is supposed to keep us safe. And when the government instead chooses to lie about the problem because they're worried, the people in charge are worried about an election, they're breaking the compact with the people. And that historically never ends well. So government, stop lying about the problems the Biden-Harris administration has created and start fixing those problems. Or you never know, they might just put Donald Trump back in charge and he'll fix those problems and you can scream and bellyache and complain. But you had a chance and instead you chose to lie to people and tell them it wasn't actually a problem even though it was. One of the other problems in this country is progressives actually putting pressure on financial institutions to shut down accounts of people and businesses they don't like. Like, for example, gun stores trying to get a bank account, and regional banks and national banks are shutting them down because they don't want to do business with the gun companies. It's how they're trying to do a backdoor around the Second Amendment. It's one of the reasons Old Glory Bank was started. OldGloryBank.com. They were by conservatives for conservatives, and they want to fight against the debanking trends for conservatives, for gun stores and gun owners. You want to be able to purchase a gun with your debit card, things like that. OldGloryBank.com. OldGloryBank.com. You can get an account with them. I have an account with them. I have a savings account and I have a checking account with them. You can do direct deposit with them. They've got great budgeting tools, bill pay, you name it. OldGloryBank.com. OldGloryBank.com. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply. They really are my bank. I really do like them. I think you will as well. If you want a great online bank, you don't have a local branch, you can still deposit cash to the bank account, though. They're great. OldGloryBank.com. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Nick Roberts, I hope you're listening at WHIO. Just real-time focus group of who's listening. So I've got Chris on Twitter. Says, hey, Eric, love your show. I think you meant Young's Jersey Dairy. Udders and Putters is one of their attractions. I just saw Udders and Putters on Apple Maps and clicked through, and they got a whole website for Udders and Putters at Young's Jersey Dairy. So that's Chris on Twitter. There's Roger on Twitter. Hey, Eric, just so you know, it is Young's Jersey Dairy. And then we have Kenny and Chris and Bob and Charles and Mary and Beth and another Beth. So, yes, everybody's listening. We got the Dayton and Springfield. And by the way, Kenneth, separate from Kenny, tells me Yellow Springs, that's also where Dave Chappelle lives. So we can go to Udders and Putters at Young's Jersey Dairy, and then we can go watch Dave Chappelle. And then Chris on Twitter also sends me the local link. Springfield Turner will seek funds to support work with the Haitian population. This is from the Springfield News Sun. With thousands of Haitian immigrants coming to Springfield in the past 5 years, local leaders are working with the federal government to obtain financial assistance to support the large population increase. It really is. They're not eating the cats. In fact, let's see. I got another lady here. Yes. Oh no, I don't want to go back to it. So it's not an illegal immigrant who ate the cat. It's a crazy woman from Canton, Ohio, which is separate. But it's all happening. The illegal aliens in the Springfield area are actually taking the wildlife. Someone also told me that I should say Canada geese, not Canadian geese. I refuse to say Canada geese. They are geese from Canada. That means they are Canadian, and they are horrible, horrible creatures that should be taken off of every endangered migratory list so they can be taken out with golf clubs or shotguns. They are horrible. You know, my in-laws have these stupid Canadian geese that land on their property and poop everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And for the longest time, they had their dog, and their dog would go outside and chase the geese off to keep them from pooping off the lawn. Now, the dog got old and died, and they don't have a new dog, and I just, it's terrible. I actually do know someone. He's not a friend of mine, but he was in the process of putting on this golf course, and a Canadian goose went nuts on him, and he wound up taking defensive action against the bird, and they charged him with a crime for killing the Canadian goose that attacked him first. They're horrible creatures. They are, I mean, they're like the devil's spawn. Canadian geese are disgusting. Charlie says they also taste great. He hears from third parties and cannot confirm himself. I don't know about that. Can you turn them into Peking goose? I'm just telling you, though, that Canadian geese are a menace, and I do not. Those of you listening in Springfield, Ohio right now, if the Haitians are getting rid of the Canadian geese, they're doing you and your community a favor. Leave the mallards alone unless they know how to smoke them with tea and turn them into Peking duck. But if they're going after the Canadian geese, they're actually doing you a favor by getting rid of those little tyrant Justin Trudeau types that are coming in and pooping all over your lawn. That's all I'll say about that. We got to move on to other stuff. When we come back on the fly with this program, we got a lot of other stuff to talk about. I have no idea what it's going to be. That's why you want to come back, because I will see something that excites me. But I promise, this is how much I love my audience. I will not review Apple iPhone launch day because it's happening right now, and I didn't take the day off because I love you so much. I should be home right now watching Tim Cook unveil the next iPhone, and instead I'm here with you, and I'm not going to hold it over your head. And I'm not going to talk about it, but we got a lot more news to talk about when we do come back.